Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of Let's Do This. So, my husband and I were joking on our drive home that I should call this episode Hot Mess 2 because we just returned from a 5-day, 4-night canoe camping expedition with our 2 kids. So this episode is going to be all about that. And really, it's going to be why do we go on expeditions with our kids? Um, don't worry if you're seeing me on YouTube, I have showered. We decided it was funny, and then when we actually started to think about it, we're like, that's kind of gross, Courtney. So yes, I have showered. I am clean. I didn't really think my podcast was ever going to be about how clean I was, but here we are. So anyways, episode 3, we are all about expeditions, why we do it, and how we used to do it, and what do we do now that we have kids? What's changed? And really, a lot of people think we're crazy. A lot of parents think that we're crazy when we tell them what we do with our kids at a super young age. So let's walk through, why we go on expeditions with our kids, the trips we've done, why we do it, and really this last trip, which was epic, which we just got home from 2 hours ago. So, what adventures have we been on? So, previous to having kids, my husband and I have always been really outdoorsy and adventurous. We lived in Hong Kong for a while and we led a bunch of international school kids on expedition type trips. We take them sea kayaking, climbing, always staying multiple nights in a tent. And maybe we should start with this. Like, what is an expedition? Well, my definition of an expedition is a multi-night trip where you are physically having to do something a little bit different, like hiking, biking, camping, canoeing, multi-day trip where you're outside and you're really self-reliant. So you're able to source your water, whether you're able to filter your own water, bring in your own water, or have water tablets. You have a shelter for yourself to keep yourself warm, whether that be a tent, or something of your choosing, and you have brought your food in, or you're able to source your food from the local environment. So for us, we usually always bring our food in, especially dehydrated food, especially when we're with our children. So that's an expedition. It's always challenging. Like expeditions aren't meant to be a walk in the park, and that is the predominant reason on why we do it with our kids. And I'll bring this up a lot in this episode, but it's all about resilience. The resilience we build in ourselves and our kids, especially at a young age, and the impacts we see on like later on in their life as we continue to do this. By the way, if you're seeing me on YouTube, yeah, I am sunburned. Yes, I have 32, I think 33 bug bites like just on my neck alone. So it's a whole thing. It is totally a hot mess episode too. Like, let's be real. Okay, so we would do trips in Hong Kong, which were a blast, and we loved that. Then we moved to New Zealand, and we were canoe river guiding on the Whanganui River, which is in the middle of the North Island. And we would lead these kind of glamping trips, but we were guiding these groups of people down the river. So we would be guiding the canoe, cooking for them, helping them with their tents. And these were always, 3 to 6 days, depending on what the client wanted. So we loved that. And we spent probably the entire summer, I want to say like 4 months, living out of a tent. And we loved it. We loved that experience. We loved being in nature. We loved being off the grid. And it was really something we continued to do before we had kids. We loved hiking trips, like backpacking trips as well. Those are always a blast. So, yes, prior to kids, we loved adventuring. And for anyone that's listening and like, you know what, that's not me. That's not my style. I don't want to go like source my water from a stream and then like kill a deer. Sorry, I have to water my plant. I'm just looking over at it and thinking it hasn't been watered in like a week and it's got you. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay. My office plant is named Rita, and she is not very happy. Now she looks good. Okay, so if you're thinking this isn't me, I don't want to go on the backcountry. The honest to God truth is I didn't really start doing expeditions until I was in my 20s. You hear these stories and you think you need to be leading expeditions out of the womb, and that's just not the truth. You can start camping tomorrow as a 50-year-old person, just wanting to try something new. And that's really what expeditions and camping or being outside is. It's just a new experience for yourself. So I hope that this episode finds you some confidence to get outside, try something new, and maybe bring your kids. I'm also going to tell you the 5 ways that make it easier for us and what, expeditioning with kids and what's helped us. Okay, so back to the story, back to the drawing board. Prior to kids, we liked to expedition. I'm in my mid 20s. My husband's 4 years older, so I'm so much younger, by the way. Okay. And when we had kids, one of our first trips was with our friends, Amy and Jonathan, and we did a biking trip to a local hot springs. It was just one night, but our children were like babies, like 6 months, or Arlen was 6 months old, and I think their son was 8 months old. And it was wild. People thought we were crazy. We packed up these chariots, which are meant to like cruise your baby around town, in this like logging road with like a bunch of rocks and boulders. And these people on their dirt bikes are like, what are these parents doing? It got really spicy at one point. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It was challenging. What we got there, and we're sitting in this unbelievable hot springs with our kids thinking, wow, this is such an amazing experience. And every amazing experience requires some element of challenge or adversity or weirdness. This is life. It's not easy. And the resilience we build with our kids in the outdoors are going to help them build better futures where they can navigate challenges and difficulties because they've seen them firsthand in environments that are spicy and challenging. And there's a book, I'll try to quote it in the show notes, but my husband read it and he was basically the idea that we need to train our bodies and brains on what is actually dangerous. As someone that has anxiety, I got anxious the other week about one of my credit cards not working. And I was like thinking about it on this trip. I was safe the whole time. I was wearing warm clothes. I had food and water, but I felt anxiety over this card not working. And I know that most of you can resonate with that. Anxiety comes out of nowhere. But when we get ourselves outside in these challenging situations, we allow ourselves to come back to reality and say, well, what is actual challenge? It's making sure that we have food and we have water and we have warmth and we have shelter. And that helps almost like reorient what's in our control, but what's real and what's supportive for us in those moments. So those are a couple of the first trip was this kind of backpacking, biking trip. We've done a bunch of backpacking trips, like hiking, and we'd hike the kids in. I'm trying to think what else. So that was early days. And then in the last couple of years, we've chosen to move over to canoe camping because we have 2 kids and it's a little easier to like throw the kids in the canoe and be like, let's go. They eat a lollipop, they go fishing, and then we get to paddle to these different campsites. Last year, we did the Bowron Lakes circuit. We just did the west side. It's a very popular circuit here in British Columbia. And it was such a magical experience. Like, there is nothing like being in the middle of nowhere without any cell reception, just soaking in the most beautiful thing in the entire world. It's just nature and its purity. It's trees and loons on the lake and sunsets and fish jumping and eagles flying. It's so calming to me. And I know for my kids as well. And that's what I noticed. When we're out there adventuring with them, they are the most calm they've ever been. We'll go on a vacation to California to visit family. And every night, my boys say, Mom, when do we get to go home to our beds? And I get it. They get homesick, but they never ask when we're out in the outdoors, when we're out camping or on an expedition. They're always so excited and pumped to be there. And I sense, even though there's challenging things, which I'll get into on this last trip, they never feel like they want to go home. They feel like they've found home within themselves. And I find that so beautiful. So Bowen Lakes Canoe Circuit was magical, and we thought, let's do that again. So what was the trip we just returned home from? It's called Myrtle Lake. So it is north and east of where we live by about 8 hours. And we were so far north, in fact, that last night I watched the sunset from our tent. It went behind the mountain at 9:30 at night. It didn't get dark till 11:30 at night, and the sun rises at 4 a.m. It's so wild. So here we are, Myrtle Lake, 4 nights, 5 days. We lost cell phone reception long ago. It's like an 8 hour drive and then a 1 hour drive on a logging road. We've rented these canoes. And to be honest, like my husband and I, when we're packing and planning, we're trying to get it all perfect. Do we forget things? 100%. We were laughing because we forgot like 10 things. Some of them were very essential. We forgot water purifying tablets. We had other methods. We brought water in and we also can boil water for 2 minutes, but we just forgot them. Like the most essential item. We forgot an axe. We forgot some extra layers. We forgot just so many things. And we were sitting in this cabin before we started the trip, like, what the hell? We need to really change the way that we organize ourselves because we're busy parents. Both have full-time jobs. And we realized before a trip, we need to have a full day to just make a plan, make a list, make sure the list is accurate. So we're the day before, we're a bit flustered. We're not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm always going to be honest. And there was this tiny convenience store in Blue River. It had a lot of stuff, but everything we were missing, it did not have. And I kept going back in like, so do you have an axe? And the guy was like, no, we just sold out 1 hour later. Do you have water purifying tablets? He's like, no, we sold out like a week ago. And I'm like, back. I came back. He's like, back again? I'm like, yep, back again. Do you have mosquito spray? He's like, were you guys prepared at all? So, if this is you, you're not alone. There's a lot of logistics when you go on any trip, whether it's for 1 night, 5 nights, or a month. There's a lot of things to think about. So, we're in Blue River. We're as ready as we're ever going to be. We drive another additional hour on a logging road to meet these park rangers to grab our canoe and get on the water. And we are on the water, and it is stunning. It is so beautiful. And my husband and I let out this like collective exhale, like, ah, we did it. And then I look up ahead and I said, hmm, are those rain clouds? And we read a lot about Myrtle Lake before we went. Storms come out of nowhere and they are vicious. They lead to whitecaps. They can turn your canoe over. And if that happens, you basically just have to stop at the soonest shore. So we look at each other, we're like, we better just paddle. Let's just go, get to the first site. So we're paddling, and sure enough, the rain comes and washes over us like a shower. We're like, great, we're 5 minutes in to our trip. Here we go. We're paddling, we're paddling, we're paddling. We're just like, can't really see through this rain. And then my husband, we see the first couple spots you can kind of pull off. There's designated spots in these different kind of canoe circuits or canoe camping trips. So we see the one, it looks a little bit busy. So we said, okay, let's go to site number 2, which was the worst mistake we made of the entire trip. And it also built the most amount of resilience. So we pull off to site 2 in this showering rain. We quickly get our kids out of the canoe and we're sheltering under a tree. Like, do we just set up camp here? We paddled for 16 minutes solid. This was not what the plan was. We were going to go for 2 hours and go to a much better site, but here we are. And my husband said, let's set up camp. I said, yep, let's just do it. Let's get the kids dry. So we quickly set up the tent. We shoved them in their sleeping bags, changed their clothes. We're inside. My husband's outside, like kind of shuffling things around. We pick a nice shaded spot in the trees. We thought if the storm picks up, we'll be safe. Little did we know, if you don't like the weather at Myrtle Lake, you wait 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, the sun is out and it is sweltering hot. We are so disoriented and confused. And also, little did we know that this particular spot was the worst spot on earth for mosquitoes and these like, I don't even know what they're called, but they were like these little tiny black flies that would bite your flesh and like you'd be bleeding. It was so weird and painful and awkward and horrible. So here we are, sweating, being bitten. Like, was this a bad idea? Maybe. Meanwhile, some friends that we actually know showed up and said, hey, we're going to check out the site. And immediately they're like, we're not going to camp here. We're going to go right across the lagoon. And we said, okay, good luck. They say, you want to join? And we're too stubborn to be like, yeah, let's just pack up camp. We said, no, we're staying the night here. We have 4 nights. We're good. So we stay the night. Another poor mistake. We made a joke. Let me get it for you. We thought we were really funny. The joke was, we were maybe going to get it on a shirt. It is, I'm a very capable outdoor adventurer. However, sometimes I suffer from BIDM, bug impaired decision making. We were totally impaired by BIDM. So we stay the night. It wasn't super fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. And this is what bids well for this resilience topic I want to talk about. It was challenging for me. It was challenging for my husband. Was it challenging for our kids? No. No. They were having a effing blast in the tent, like playing, flipping, jumping. They had to wear bug nets, and yes, they each have welts on their head. So many bug bites. My youngest, Bryce, had a black eye the next day. The only reason they were aware of the bugs is because we were talking about them. Kids are very naturally resilient. They are. And they're watching us as caregivers to see how we're responding to the environment. Normally, we can keep cool, calm, and collected, but we're human, and that was horrible. It was. It was not good. So the next morning, we decided to leave a campsite poo behind us and head on our way. We had crystal clear blue skies, easy paddling. We got to see the lake. We arrived at Tropicana, and it is everything its name lived up to. We landed on shore in these white sandy like beaches to a bug-free, beautiful, windy environment. And my husband and I just land on shore and I just lie down on the sand. Like, we made it. We stayed there for 3 days. We camped 2 nights. We fell in love with this beautiful area. We had hot, warm, sunny days. We went fishing. The kids are now, we always go on this expedition trip because their birthdays are very close together. So they're July 1st and July 6th. So they just turned 6 and 4 years old. And it's always just this fun tradition that we have that we actually want to continue until they're much older and we're almost too old to adventure. It's just this moment in time where we get to pause and be together and have these wild, crazy adventures. And don't you agree? The hard times make the better stories. Because once things cleared up in the skies and we figured out how to manage the bugs, which the key was stay in the wind, everything was amazing. Like picturesque, beautiful. Some friends joined us. Just so regulating of the nervous system. Everything makes sense out there. I'm not scrolling on my phone. I'm being present. I'm watching the sunset. It was amazing. Camping food, I am celiac, so camping food, dehydrated food, and sometimes it's complicated, but I deal with it. Other than that, we had an amazing trip, which leads me to talk about how do you adventure with kids? How do you adventure for yourself? Maybe you go on expeditions and you want to bring your kids. Maybe you've never even been camping. I just want to tell you the 5 things that really help me and have always helped me. And the first one is have low expectations. Only be prepared to manage what you can control. So I was talking to my kids about this trip, and I said, "Kids, what can you control?" And they said, "I don't know. What?" And my youngest 4-year-old was like, "I can control Spider-Man and Thor." He's very into superheroes. And I said, "Well, probably because you're awesome. But the only things you can control are your thoughts, your words, and your behaviors. You can't control the weather. You can't control your kids' moods. You can't control the bugs. You can just control what's in your head, what you say out of your mouth, and your behaviors." And that really recenters me to think, okay, have low expectations. What can I control? These 3 things. If anything happens that's weird, take it in stride, laugh about it. And if you can't laugh about it, take some space to breathe about it or scream about it. Because if you want to adventure outside with your kids or alone, having low expectations is the ticket. Know what you can control and prepare for what you can't control. And you're not always going to remember everything like us, so do your very, very best. And your kids are always watching you. Like my 4-year-old was so funny when these like we were so, miserable with these like flesh-eating black fly things. And he goes, "You know what, mommy? The bugs are happy and we are mad." I was like, "You know what? The bugs are happy. They're having the best fucking day ever." The last time they saw a human was probably a year ago because nobody camps in this spot. Um, Number two is start small and basic. When we when I was postpartum with both kids, I just got stir crazy. My happy place is being outside. And so I said to my husband, just let's go camping for one night. We went to this campsite right across the street. And we said, if the baby doesn't sleep, because our children, one was 2 weeks old, and Arlen was, I want to say, 1 month old when we first went car camping with them. And we said, if it goes wrong, we'll just drive home. That's it. And my husband will come back tomorrow and pick the tent up. And that's how we started with kids. We kept it simple. We kept it basic. I literally remember the first year we went car camping with them, I would cook the food at home and then bring it out. So keep it simple. Quality over quantity. I thought when I was younger, I camped all the time with my parents. And I found out recently that we only went camping maybe a couple of times in my whole life. And my mom and dad were like, "What? You thought that?" And I said, "Yeah." And that's how memorable it was for me. You don't need to go camping every weekend of the summer. You can go camping once in the summer and it can be a core memory for your child. I promise. Look how it shaped me. It shaped me into thinking we camped every weekend and we went twice in my life. Like I said, I did most in my 20s. Number three is be prepared and always have extra snacks ready, especially with your kids. Being hangry is a real thing, especially when you're outside. Keep a routine, especially with kids. So, something that we do when we're out on an expedition is we always keep our same routines. We get ready for bed, we brush our teeth, we have a bath, whether that's a wet wipe or going into the lake. We read a book, we brush our teeth, we go to sleep. We keep it exactly the same. They wear the same pajamas for bedtime. They wear the same, action clothes when they're adventuring. The routines really help the kids with the unpredictability that's outside. We also had this cute little routine this time we called the chattel, which is when we would go out on a paddle at night and we played this kind of reflection game we do almost every day with our kids, which is rock, stick, and leaf. I say, rock, what rocked about today? What did you love? Leaf is what would you leave behind about today? What didn't you like? And P.S., most of our responses were the bugs. And stick is what will stick with you or what did you learn? So we'd go out on the canoe and we'd have our little chattel. And that really calmed our kids down and kept us in this routine that made bedtime really easy. It made the days really easy and it kept everything really simple. Last and not least is take it moment by moment. Savor what you can. Truly think about the times in your life that you've had hardship and challenge. You learn more from failure than anything else. Going outside on an expedition for 5 nights in a canoe or car camping for one night is going to have challenges. And what does it build? Resilience. I notice when we go on these trips with our children, they develop and grow leaps and bounds. And that's not by accident. When kids are pushed outside their comfort zone, they try new things, they do things differently, and that builds growth and resilience within them. It also builds a confidence in themselves and in you. One thing I noticed, especially with Arlen, now that he's finished kindergarten, is us putting him in uncomfortable situations and having him problem solve and figure it out is one of the best skills that we could teach him going into life. So that is the expedition episode. I hope you enjoy it. It has been a joy to chat with you. I'm now going to get some sleep. Good night and farewell.